Oh boy, this is a video that is going to pain me a little bit to record, and it's a 5 things it did wrong. Now, as you saw the other day, we're branching out our 5 things videos a little bit and the channel in general, and today we're taking a look at Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a game that I love, a game that pretty much it's unanimously loved as far as I've seen, but is it perfect? Nothing is perfect. So let's look at the glass half empty side of things today on 5 things it did wrong with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. The first thing that I would say this game did wrong, it's the counterpart to the first thing it did right. Now, if you recall, the first thing it did right in that video was it's a beautiful game. As far as what did it do wrong though, what could be the opposite of that? It can't be a bad looking game. It's not. But there is a lot of graphical issues with this game, at least at launch. I would assume that some of these are going to be fixed, but at least as of the 18th of November, they haven't been when I'm recording this, so I think it's fair game. I've noticed artifacting in the sky on different worlds. Most of them it doesn't happen, but it has occasionally on a few, especially when landing the Mantis. And the one that's annoyed me the most is sometimes the game just decides that it thinks you're outside when you're not. So you'll be in the Mantis, or you will be inside a building and your tunic will be blowing wildly like you're in a hurricane, or the clothing of your shipmates will be blowing wildly like you're out in a storm, but you're not. You're just in a sealed container of a ship, and it's the most distracting thing ever when you're trying to take the story seriously and listen to the dialogue, and you're just seeing these clothes flap around like there's a jet turbine going. It's really obnoxious. It might sound like a nitpick, but if you're playing through the story and you see it, it does pull you out of the scene that you're trying to enjoy. The second issue that this game really had was frame rate problems. Now, this is sort of a two-pronged issue because the game drops frames in a lot of different areas, especially on like the first and second planet. I would say the second planet more than the first. The first is basically just a tutorial area to kind of get you used to the game. Once you get into the open second planet, you start to have a lot of frame rate issues and it just gets messy. Now, here's the thing. There's a performance mode for this game. Especially, the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, they have access to both of these versions of the game. Now, there is the normal version where you're just playing it at what is pretty much 4K, usually 30 FPS, or you can play it at 1080p, and it's uncapped. I don't believe it caps at 60 FPS, but I don't think it exceeds that. I haven't seen the Digital Foundry breakdown or any sort of breakdown on it, because I was trying to maintain a lack of bias when looking at this game. It's also one of the reasons why I'm not giving you a ton of spoilers in this video or the other one. I'm trying to keep it as just my perspective without a ton of spoilers as I can, so that you can go on and play the game and enjoy it, since it's so new. But the thing with this performance mode is that it is designed to sort of fix frame drops. The problem is it's not steady. The frame rate is not even steady in performance mode, and even if it was, it does not just bump the game down to 1080p. I've noticed that it makes all of the textures very blurry. Like everything sort of looks like you're looking through it. My glasses, brothers and sisters in arms, are gonna know what this means. It's sort of like when you go to the movie theater and you forgot to actually wipe your glasses off or clean them ahead of time. It's a real first world struggle, but essentially you're sort of looking through smudges the whole time. It sort of looks like that, or like your little brother or sister ran their greasy hand down the middle of the screen over Cal, the main character of this game, and you can make out the details, but they are really, really blurry, and it makes the game look like ass. There's no other way to put it, really. It's just bad. And it was a huge letdown to me to see that, because I would much rather have a 1080p game that runs in like 60 FPS versus having a 30 FPS game in 4K. But I ended up just going with the 4K 30 FPS because I couldn't even make out some of the details otherwise. The game just looked bad in performance mode, which I think should never be the case. It looks worse, fine. It's not 4K. It looks bad. We have a problem. The third issue that I think this game had was something that I talked to T about a lot, and it's something that I think we both generally think is not an issue, but it's an issue that comes up enough to be annoying. That's the platforming. I mentioned in the video of things that this did well, that the platforming, I would generally put on par with games like Uncharted, but it's not perfect. So there's times where it doesn't work as intended, and you can see that very clearly when you're playing. So at times you'll jump and reach for a rope, you'll totally miss it, even though you should have grabbed it, you'll just totally whiff. Especially when sliding. There's points of this game where you have to slide down hills or down icy declines and slopes in order to grab on a rope and jump up. And there's especially points during that where you will jump towards a rope, you will totally whiff right past it and fall into an abyss when you should have grabbed it. Other times, Cal will find himself magnetizing to the rope from 3 to 5 feet away and just grab onto it. It doesn't make any sense, and the same can happen at times with ledges, where you should be able to grab onto a ledge and jump up, and it just doesn't happen. And because of some of the textures in this game, as great as they look, they are sometimes reused with certain textured objects that you can climb on in some areas, and other ones that look almost identical in other areas you can't climb on, because it's essentially leading out of bounds. So I really would have had them sort of retexture those things so that it doesn't look like it's giving you a context clue to jump and climb and traverse on it when you can't do that. The fourth issue I had with the game that I think it did wrong was a little bit of the start. Now, this is something that T and I both, I wouldn't say disagree on. He didn't like the start of the game as much as I did, but I totally see his point. And his point was that the game starts a little slow. The first 30 to 45 minutes, I would say, of the game are pretty slow. I saw them as building tension, but I could see how people, and I'm not saying this is T, but people who aren't invested or as invested as Star Wars would probably be annoyed at that until it starts to ramp up, or at least not as interested. Because when it comes to like me and T, I am a mega fan of Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars to death in general, and he's a fan of it. Like, he enjoys it. He likes some of the movies. He doesn't like others. He likes some products. He doesn't like others. And he's not a mega fan. Harry Potter is his big thing. I would say Star Wars is mine and Batman is both of ours. We share that one. But essentially, someone like me who has this huge buy-in to the property from the beginning, I am totally fine with a very slow start that ramps up. Some people aren't going to be. And I think that at the very opening of the game, it doesn't come off like it's a very impressive start. And I think that that combined with what people saw from the E3 trailers, I believe it was E3, but the actual gameplay trailer we first saw of this, where it was just very linear and you didn't see much action, I don't know if those are super great first impressions to give people if, say, someone's tuning into a live stream for the beginning of the game and trying to get into it and decide if they want to buy it. I think this game had insane sales. I don't know, because a lot of that information's not released anymore with digital sales. But I would just say that it's sort of a tough line to walk when you're telling a story like this. How fast do you start it? How fast do you ramp up? For people with huge buy-in like me, not an issue. For people who don't have that, I'm not sure if it would be or not. Those are the 5 things that I think Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order did wrong. And when I say wrong, I just mean maybe they could have been done better. Especially the graphical and frame rate issues and the platforming parts that don't work right. But I want to know your opinion on this game. It's become one of my favorite games in recent history. I certainly think it's an amazing Star Wars game. So far, I'd honestly put it up there with some of the best Star Wars games ever made. But that's just me. What do you think about this game? What other games would you like to see covered on the channel for 5 things it did right and 5 things it did wrong? I'm looking forward to your feedback. Love and appreciate all of you, as always. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Peace. So in our final note, I wanted to bring up something that is not related to these topics, and it's something that's really just for people who have the means or interest in it. I have created a Patreon over on patreon.com that is linked in the description below. This is for people who want to support my content monetarily, who like what I do and want to see more of it. This does help me sort of be able to have a little more financial security moving forward as that grows along with the channel. So far, I only actually have one patron. And again, the Patreon is not to beg. It's not to be an e-begging platform. It's really just if you have the resources and you want to support me in that way, it is greatly appreciated. If you don't or don't want to, that's totally fine. I just thought I'd bring it up since I try not to bring it up that often because I don't want to be annoying about it. In other news, the Reddit is up, so please check the subreddit out. I love meeting you over there, so check out the goodies over there, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day, and thank you all so much for being fantastic people.